The final project for Stage 2 Graphics and Architecture, we were tasked with creating an independent architectural design. My aim was to construct an affordable, modern, and energy-efficient family home located in the Adelaide foothills. I was able to achieve to a high degree by designing the home to maximize its energy efficiency by considering the home's orientation and materials, while ensuring that the home remained an affordable yet luxury option. I have been able to incorporate certain materials from our resource investigation into my major product. These materials address the current issues faced within the architecture, engineering, and construction industries, such as the skilled labor shortage and energy efficiency. These materials can be seen throughout the model and consist of brick, hebel, metal cladding, and earth wool insulation. These materials have created three distinctive wall systems used throughout the home. The metal cladding can be seen around the first floor, while the hebel cladding and brick veneer is on the ground floor. These materials are less labor intensive in comparison to materials such as stone walls and precast cement, while also contributing to the home's sustainability, as materials such as brick have high thermal mass properties, meaning it can effectively store heat, which is slowly released, allowing for a minimal consumption of heat gain into the home. These wall systems are also above the standard regulation here in South Australia, with the exception of the metal cladding. However, this wall system can be well above the regulation as long as earth wool insulation has been applied, increasing its R value. A refinement I see fit for my product would be to modify the doors which lead to the exterior of the home, as I currently have the doors sitting 220mm off the ground. I would modify this so they are level with the ground so they would be more practical. I would also want to modify the renders taken for the virtual tour, as during this process certain artwork appeared blank and without colour. So I'd modify this by finding the artwork online and importing it into Photoshop alongside the render to cover the painting with the image of the artwork so that it would appear in my virtual tour. These refinements would significantly improve the overall aesthetics of the major product's graphic outcomes. During development of the major product, I encountered a range of issues specific to each process. The first issue I faced was during the construction of the first floor, specifically the process of creating the metal cladding. I intended for this cladding to be colour-bond woodland grey. However, during this process, I discovered as I pulled each rib out 40mm, there was a faint but distinctive line between where the rib meets the wall, and as I orbited around the model, this could be clearly seen. This was something I had to solve, as leaving this would impact the aesthetics of the model. This was resolved by entering the wall and changing each of the ribs' colour from white to woodland grey from the inside. During my post-production renders in Podium, I discovered that due to the lack of windows on the north elevation, the interior required a light source so that the renders wouldn't appear pitch black. This was fixed by importing a light fixture from the SketchUp warehouse and then implementing the light source created within the Podium lighting settings to increase the brightness of my renders. Finally, during the process of creating and forming my 3D virtual tour, I discovered that the process of collecting the Podium renders and establishing backgrounds was extremely time-consuming. I also found certain renders to run longer than others. For example, my exterior renders took 4 hours to complete, whereas my master bedroom took 30 minutes. I overcame this issue by collecting my renders for each room, and while another render was being processed, I entered Photoshop and started the process of adding a background into the render. This ensured that I managed my time effectively, allowing me to have more time to create my virtual tour. Some improvements I see appropriate for my model would be to possibly change the layout of the home, as two-story homes require more labor and more energy in comparison to single-story homes. However, if I was to make this change, it would require a larger block size, and due to the current housing market, this would have a significant impact on the home's affordability, as house prices in the Adelaide region have risen by 18% in the last year. I also struggled finding a suitable background for the model during my post-production in Photoshop. The model's intended location was a suburb, so it required a background in neighbouring households. So I believe if I was able to generate my own panoramic views, I would have been able to create a representation of how my model would fit in a suburban setting. This could have been accomplished by undertaking site visits and using a 360 camera to capture shots of the environment, which I could then use in my 3D virtual tour. If I had more time for the major product, I would add more detail to the second and third bedrooms, as they currently feel quite empty in comparison to the master bedroom and don't feature many decorative items. The reason this is the case is that the more furniture I imported from the warehouse, the SketchUp software lagged. Given more time, I would have liked to improve my interior design for these rooms by possibly incorporating cupboards, study desk, bookshelves, and indoor plants to create a livelier setting. Overall, I am satisfied with the outcome of the project against my design brief and constraints. The product has addressed my design brief, as I have designed an affordable, modern and energy efficient family home while ensuring that all design constraints had been achieved.